folks, once again, thank you for joining the Alex and Mark show.
Hello.
I am not acting like this is radio, but here we are. I'm Alex Madagian, and that is Professor Mark McIntyre. You can follow me at Alex Madagian, AlexMadajian, Twitter.
He's Armenian, by the way, and he's always starving. So you've got to send him some money so I can feed him. Okay.
Please do that. 2 links below. Preferably do the monthly, but if you can, one time is good. And if you can't do that, share, subscribe, and all that wonderful joy.
Right.
Now, anyway.
What's on your mind today?
What's on my mind today is the factions in America. Predominantly, there have been 2 camps. You know, way back in the day, it was Federalist, Anti-Federalist. Then it was, slavery and abolitionist. Now it's conservative leftist, I would say. Conservative leftist. Mm-hmm. Or you could say classical liberal leftist, whatever. Mm-hmm. I think that era is coming to a close, and it's going to come something new. I think that the current factions are going to deteriorate. And my reasoning for this is that conservatives seem very strong, or there's both enough unity, and there's also enough difference of thought within the conservative Republican wing of America for it to help to have a healthy, sustainable growth, versus the left is collapsing. You listen to any reasonable news channel, they endlessly are putting out more news stories, more podcasts, more reasons why the left is falling apart. Not just here, but all around the world. Mm-hmm. And it certainly is happening here in America. They barely, caucuses are just, finished up in Iowa. Probably by the time you see this, the New Hampshire one will be done. It's just not getting off the ground. It's, how do you expect to fly your fighter jet into war when you can barely make it off the runway? Mm-hmm. Your fuel tank is exploding as you refuel it.
So what do you predict as the future of our factions?
Well, I'll start with your prediction. You notorious little sleaze boy, you. Well, I shouldn't say sleaze. I shouldn't say that. For decades, you, to unsympathetic ears, have warned people there will be a shooting war.
Yes, a civil war in America, and civil wars breaking out all over Europe. It'll start with an attempt on the life of President Donald Trump. Which is the next thing, since the Democrats can't seem to impeach him or remove him. In fact,
actually, there was just a news story that somebody with a knife tried to break into the White House to kill him.
I saw that. That's the only thing they have left, is to try to actually kill the guy. And when you look at the Brexit situation, where Boris Johnson has said, we will defend our fisheries, and our fishies.
Our fishmongers.
They're also very gay over there. So we'll just send our fishies. Okay, our fishies.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say that I have been predicting for a long time that politics and diplomacy, they are stopgaps to violent revolution. And when diplomacy and politics fail, which both of them are now failing, diplomacy has failed in Europe, and politics has failed in America. We are living in a failed political environment. They can't get along. They can't. It's based upon hatred on both sides. I'm not just saying one side here. Let's be honest. There's hatred and bitterness and irresolvability, unresolvable differences. It's like a marriage. It's like a divorce, where no one is going to even sit down at the table and listen to the opposing point of view. That's how bad it is.
Now, I disagree. I disagree with you, and you're wrong. But you might be right.
Okay.
So, first of all, I do not think that the spark will be the assassination of Donald Trump. I think that I think that what will happen, at least from the right's perspective, is if the left tries to go after the Second Amendment. If different states decide the Second Amendment does not exist, we are taking your gun. Mm-hmm. And on the perspective from the left is, what will be their spark is Roe v. Wade. Mm-hmm. Those are the 2 trigger points for both. And I think that they'll happen very close to each other. Mm-hmm. That will...
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. That's interesting. That's really, you really think that people that bent upon killing their babies in their own womb is enough to have them pick up guns and start shooting people who oppose that?
I don't know. I don't know about that, but I'd say that most certain, with almost exact certainty, a civil war will happen if the left tries to nullify the Second Amendment via violence.
Oh, I agree with that. Oh, no, I totally agree.
But the thing is, I'm trying to view it from the left's perspective. What would cause them to take up arms? I think it would be that would be a very defining moment for them, a watershed moment for them. But I don't think that's a potential possibility. A potential possibility. Here is the non-violent possibility I see in the future that not many people have been predicting, is that the left, it won't collapse. It's slowly collapsing. I don't think will morph, will turn into something. It doesn't turn into something. It doesn't create anything. It's a parasite. It sucks off of things and destroys them and moves on to the next. It's done that with liberals. That's what it's done with liberals. Liberals, classical liberals used to be a wonderful thing, but they have been sucked dry by the left, and that corpse is about to give up. So I think that their next target is libertarians. I think that libertarians are weak and disorganized, and they're desperate to win something. And the left has just enough allowance for anarchy. I think that the left will be willing to give up their big government. I think. I might be. I don't necessarily want to be proven right or wrong here, but I think that. What I think their goal is, their ultimate goal, is destruction of values, and via getting power for themselves.
Well, Bernie Sanders will be the nominee. He will get slaughtered. The re-election.
You switched. You used to say Biden would be the nominee. You've come over to my side.
Oh no, I agree with you. No, you were right. You were right. You were much more prescient than I was in that. I didn't realize how quickly they have now disposed of Joe Biden. But he's done. He's cooked. He's cooked. And they are going to nominate.
To be fair, we haven't hit the South yet, so we'll. That might. He might make a comeback then, and then rig the convention just enough to jump ahead.
Creepy Joe will come in 5th in New Hampshire. That's my prediction for tomorrow night.
All right. I mean, he might do that. My hope for Joe Biden, Joe Biden's hope, in my opinion, is if he just crushes when you hit the southern states.
He won't do that. He won't last that long.
And then they rig the general convention for him.
No.
But we'll see.
It could. I want to close this discussion because one of the liberals that I really respected in the 1950s and 60s, his name was Erik Severeid. He was a Norwegian commentator for CBS, great friend of Walter Cronkite, and on the nightly news one, I'll never forget this. I think I was only about 14 or 15 years old, and I remember he closed his predictions just as you did now, and he said that he recalled that the philosopher Alfred North Whitehead remarked that when the back streets begin to move, the intellectuals and the politicians are swept aside. And he was predicting this about America, that Alfred North Whitehead was saying this about America, because he could see where we are now, where politics breaks down, diplomacy has broken down in Europe, and once the politicians and the diplomats are swept aside, it's only left for the people with guns.
Now, violence. Now, I'll end my statement with this. Violence, of course, I want to avoid it as much as possible. And if it is to be avoided, I think that the left will choose to infect the libertarians. I don't know what that amalgamation would look like. You're going to see potentially anarchists.
Yeah.
People who are. I could see them also blending in with white supremacy, because it's actually kind of ironic how much the white supremacists have with the black supremacists. And, it's really quite scary.
It's a frightening time.
Right. So, my advice is keep your head together, know what your values are, and stick with them as hard as you can, and don't let anything take your values away. That's my advice.
Try to work to avoid the violent confrontation with people.
Oh yeah, I tried talking to people. That might help a lot.
Listen to other people who don't agree with you. Listen to them.
Start a
It
club
doesn't
at your
hurt you. It
school.
doesn't hurt you. Your brain won't explode. Just listen to them. You don't have to agree with people. As
You don't have
Aristotle
to
said,
tell. You don't have to tell them what's wrong.
the sign of an educated person is the ability to listen to an idea without accepting it.
There we go. You take care, guys. I'm Alex Vidal.